Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a very cool video for you guys. After a lot of thought discussion with my friends, we have made a top 10 list of the most impactful cards that were released in 2020. Now for this list, we will be taking a look at all the sets that were released this year, but we will be only picking for the 10 cards that were printed this year, not reprinted this year. So a card like Gold Rare Nibiru, although it's very cool that it has been finally reprinted, will sadly not count as a new card. That is to make it a little bit easier for us because there are just so many cards that were printed this year. While the world stood still, YuGiOh definitely didn't. So yeah, let's take a look back to all the way to Eternity Code and all the way to Ignition Assault, which was one of the first sets released. And we've seen so many sets this year, it's quite insane. Some were very good, some maybe were not. But yeah, let's take a look at some cards. Before we start, I'm gonna make some quick honorable mentions because there were just so many good cards that we don't want to ignore. Well, we have a very specific 10 cards that are better than them. There were still a lot of cards that have to be mentioned before. So for the lightning round, we're gonna start off with the Chaos Creator being one of the most generic Chaos support cards that came out this year. This card is really cool, but it just hasn't seen play. NADIR Servant, making the Dogmatica deck a good thing, which is also, you know, pretty solid card, not top 10 worthy. Dracula, Dragon of the Icy Imprisonment, technically a reprint, but it is also only released this year for Europe, so which is why I wanted to include it in honorable mentions. Then we have Forbidden Droplets being very impactful, very broken, but not for all decks, so not generic or good enough. Shadow Sism bringing Shadow to a new level. Cross Sheep being one of the most generic cards out there for literally every summon mechanic. It's really good. Selene, Queen of the Master Magicians, being basically the only Pendulum support that we have seen this year. Very sad. Magician's Souls is a card that was released this year. What? Apparently, I thought it was longer ago, but sure. ACCESSCODE Talker, definitely very solid and strong, but not as game-changing as a card for like Boral Sword. Neural Network and Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, 2 win conditions for decks. These are cards that will stay in the game for a very long time. They probably will never be banned, but they just did not make the impact that we were expecting them to make, so they are not in the top 10. The last card is the Phantom Knight Thornscales, reviving the PKBA deck list, which is something that the deck definitely needed. So yeah, that's the honorable mention part. But before we go into the video, let's thank our sponsor of the last video of the year. Thank you, Cardmarket, for being supportive throughout the entire year. Especially for you guys, we have a very cool promotion right now. I have a lot of coupon codes that were not used during this year, so check one of these codes out on Cardmarket for €5 credit. And if you haven't used Cardmarket before, do note that it's a European website only. I have also a lot of codes for €5 starting credits, and don't forget to use Tatsym as a referral code when starting an account that you can use freely, and here they are. So yeah, Cardmarket is one of the best platforms to buy and sell your cards. Buy from professional sellers or private sellers like you and me. They have everything, singles, sets. They have set breakdowns as well, boosters, sealed products, accessories. You can buy anything you want and everything you want. Also read some very cool texts that people like me write. So yeah, be sure to check out Cardmarket. Thank you again for the support this year. Let me know what you bought with the €5 coupons down below. Let's go back to the video. Now for the top 10 with a little bit more detail added to it. On number 10, me and the boys included ADAMANCIPATOR Researcher. Reason why this card is in the top 10 is because this is the first wave, or yeah, basically the first wave that rocks actually ever got of support. I'm not counting Kwakimeru, because that's an archetype. But yeah, ADAMANCIPATOR Researcher, you cannot forget that we lived in a rock format earlier this year. This was one of the best decks when the lockdown started. So a lot of people haven't really noticed this, and it's not really that good now. It's still a pretty solid deck. Look out for the deck profile on my channel. But you cannot deny the fact that this card has made such an incredible impact this year. It's such an insane card for rocks. Basically all the ADAMANCIPATOR cards, but the Researcher specifically being the generic summon this when you have a rock card, which is really strong. Placing the deck as a top tier 0 maybe even deck. Dominating the meta for quite a while after the Block Dragon hit. And even now it's still pretty solid. So ADAMANCIPATOR Researcher definitely deserves number 10. Number 9, Divine Arsenal AA Zeus. This card has made quite the impact. I have done a discussion video on this card before. It is a really solid card, reviving Zoo and being able to be splashed in the virtual world decks. people have actually been making their deck around Azus. They have put cards like the Downward Magician and the Kayacha Archer, which are cards that I never would have expected to be seen again, but they are back because people want to get their Zeus with 2 materials. So this card is definitely very strong, very impactful, definitely made its impact. But yeah, it's only for like a small amount of decks. It's kind of weird, because a deck like Burning Abyss really doesn't want to make this card, and even if they do, it will probably not even have 2 materials. So, no, it's a really solid card, and it's definitely something out there, but it's not like number 1 or number 2, you know, that's what I mean. This card is very, very strong, and it's definitely there. Now, number 9, this is a card that you probably might not have seen coming. It is called Parallel Exceed. This card warps the Link format entirely, making Salamangreat being able to end on a Dweller, being played in Adamancipator as well. This card has been seen play in so many decks, and it will be seen play in a lot more decks. It's just generic, 3 cards in your deck, make a rank 4. You can play this in literally anything and everything. This card is so strong. I am 100% sure that there will be a format where everyone will just be playing 3 of these cards in a deck. For example, a deck like Invoked can already play this card very easily. It's so strong, so generic, you need nothing for it, and even if you don't XC summon, you can just link with them. These cards are very, very strong, and I'm pretty like, why weren't we playing this before? Number 7 is the card that revived trap decks, or at least that make trap decks viable again. It's Ice Dragon Prison. This was a sleeper card when it released, but it quickly got more expensive when people caught on. Ice Dragon Prison is one of the most impactful cards of this year, because you will forever need to be playing around this card. If you're just playing Adamancipator, for example, you have a rock in your grave, you better watch out. Playing Eldritch, better watch out, gonna steal that lord. There's just so many applications for this card, even not the banishing effect, but just summoning things back and using them for your own. This card is very versatile, very strong, definitely number 7 on the list. Number 6 is Lightning Storm. This card is another just insane card. It's both Duster and Dark Raigeki at the same time, but only when you have no face-up cards on the field. And it will only destroy attack position monsters. So slightly worse, but still very strong, solid side deck option. It's kind of expensive right now, but I can definitely see a point in time where the card has been reprinted like 2 or 3 times, and just everyone has them and everyone will play them, and it's honestly not even like the worst of cards to exist or to get out there. I'm a back row player myself, but even I like the card is honestly just fine. It has like solid restrictions. It's a dead top deck. Like, it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Now, to get to number 5, it's a card that I really don't like. Personally, this is one of the cards that made the deck. It's ANIMADORNED ARCHOSAUR. That's the card that you are looking for. This card is priced up in... It has spiked up in price to almost 50-60 euros right now. This is the sole card that makes Dinos work. Dinos, of course, already was very strong, but this is the card they needed. Being able to just Misk, use the effect of Misk, summon Archosaur, get a baby pop. It's just honestly insane. The deck would not be the same without this card. And this card was released this year. This made Dinos the menace that it is, and it's honestly wild. Like, honestly, it's quite wild. Like, it's such a strong card, so much value. It's honestly kind of insane that they even printed this, because this was almost exactly what they needed. If it were a tuner, it would only have been better, but that's like the only thing that I can think of that would make this card, you know, better than it already is. This card is so strong, so versatile. It definitely makes Dino work, definitely deserves number 4 on the list. Number 5. Number 4 on the list is a card that we all are very familiar with, and we all have Vietnam flashbacks of. It's called LINKROSS. You cannot deny that this card is game changing. This card dominated the format to make combo decks work. People were building their deck around it. The card was insane. It's a good Cybers card. But yeah, no, this card is just honestly... It's insane that it stayed for as long as it did. It's so ridiculously broken, and now that it's finally banned, we can see that it has made so much impact. There are almost no combo decks now anymore. The ones that are there are not even playing HALQIFIBRAX at this point. So yeah, the LINKROSS ban definitely did more than we expected it to be. We thought that the format would still be very combo heavy, and it would still like just people will find something new, but they just haven't, because there is nothing that can replace a LINKROSS. The card was so good in its place like a combined with the Martial Metal Marcher that finally got to see play. It's honestly broke, which is why it's so deserving of the number 4 spot. On to number 3 is a card that we will be seeing for quite a while, which is Eldlich the Golden Lord. Now the OCG has been on this hype for a while now, and the TCG has only seen this like very recently, but there are so many other decks that are playing this card right now next to Eldlich. For example, you can play this card in Shadow. It's really nice in Shadow because you can just combine it with the Eldlich or with the Invoked engine, send your field spell away, get another Lord. It's a light, fuse it away. There are so many applications for this card. People in OCG have just been tacking in one in every deck and it just works. And I think that this is definitely something that we will be doing very soon as well. And of course the Eldlich deck has been wreaking havoc the entire year. On its own the cards are very fair, but like combined with anything else it gets really broken, which is why it's so good. This deck does not require a ban, this deck does not require a hit, it's honestly quite fine on its own. But yeah, it's definitely deserving of the 3rd spot. And honestly, I'm waiting to see what else will happen. Like honestly, that Eldlich is just such a very strong deck. And the Lord, it's gonna be tacked into so many other decks as well. Number 2. What could it be other than CRYSTRON HALQIFIBRAX? This card was very close to being the 1st place. But the 1st place is better. How? I don't know, because Hulk is pretty insane. But HALQIFIBRAX has to have a lot of things going for it, because now that LINKROSS is gone, and a lot of the tuners are gone, it is not seeing play. Now, it will definitely be seeing play more in the future. People are still finding out the format, there will be more combo decks, definitely. But HALQIFIBRAX it's such a strong card. It made everything this entire year work. Even if you weren't even playing a very heavy combo deck, you were still playing this card, because it was just so strong. Made the Eldlich Synchro deck work, it made ADAMANCIPATOR work, it makes everything work. Except for Virtual World, but you know. But no, this card is definitely one of the most game-changing cards. It dominated the year ever since release. It was anticipated as one of the most broken cards in the game, and it proved itself to be one of the most broken cards of the game. Definitely. But the number 1 spot is something else. Number 1 on the list. This card warped the game when it released. People weren't sure that it would, but it definitely did, and we are just noticing what the release of this card meant. Triple Tactic Talents warped this entire game. This is one of the sole reasons why people are just not playing hand traps anymore. So yeah, so first of all, let's talk about the card. 3 effect is already pretty wild. You know, it does require on your opponent activating an effect, but going second it's quite easily done, and going first with hand traps around it's also quite easily done. So this card helps you both first, both second, which is already pretty wild, because this deck is actually a good top deck compared to a card like Lightning Storm, which is kind of similar but different. This card is honestly just insane. You have 3 effects. First of all, you can steal your opponent's monster. It doesn't target, doesn't lock you into anything, its effects are not negated. You can still attack. What? This card's out basically everything and anything. It can steal a Dragoon, it can steal a Mega Clubs, it can steal just anything, and you can just use that for your turn for some reason. It's so wild to think about it. Other effect is you can look at your opponent's hand, so if you're already playing a hand loopy deck, you can hand loop for 1 more, because playing through 1 hand trap will always, you know, it's easy to do. So you can just hand loop 1 more, which is quite insane. Information gained from looking at your opponent's hand is insane, and why does this have 3 effects? The other effect is Draw 2, which is currently the most commonly used one. But still, Pot of Greed is just so strong. Just drawing any extender and being still able to play, and then your original end board. It's wild. Early game it's wild, mid game it's wild, late game it's wild. Drawing double copies only sucks when your opponent isn't playing a monster effect. But what deck isn't playing monsters? Like, every deck has to play into it at some point. Whether it would be like Virtual World with hand traps, or with their Xyz, or a Zeus, or just Zoo with their Trident, or Guru with Guru, or Venus. This card warps everything. It warps how you negate stuff. It warps how much hand traps you play, even if you play them. Because why would you even play hand traps at this moment? You can just get talent, and you know, why would you play so low impact cards to only get like destroyed with one simple talent, because that's what we are looking at right now. If you ash your opponent, you're risking talents, but it's basically the same. Why would you stop one play, but you make so many others work? It's so wild. Never going second to help play through your opponent's field to steal a Dragoon, use its effects more. It's honestly quite insane. When playtesting against friends, this is definitely a card that I keep in the back of my mind for always. I will always have at least one more negate up, just in case. I will never negate spells with Harbinger, I will only negate talents with Harbinger. That's the point that that's like what we are looking at right now, because this card just changed the game. This card outs your entire field. If you have just used one negate, you have an Apollosa, I could just steal it. Then you have no negates anymore after that. It's so wild, this card, and it's just such a sleeper. And like the set already, it was, I can't remember really what it was. It was a Rise of the Duelist was an insane set already. Every card in that set is expensive right now, and Talents is definitely the most expensive one out of them, and it deserves to be the most expensive one, because it's just better than Droplets, it's just better than Servant. You can play this in every deck. You activate a monster effect, that's cool. I win. So yeah, those are our top 10 cards that we were looking at for this format, for this year, that changed everything. They warped the game, they changed the game. Some for good, some for definitely worse. And yeah, we also included a bunch of things that were banned or that were limited but still made an impact. And yeah, I don't really know what to say. I really wonder what Konami will pull out of their heads like next year, because this year, for staple wise, it was already very insane. So I'm just wondering what they will think of next year. Maybe it will quad tactic talents. Who knows? So yeah, do you agree with this list? Do you think any other card made such an impact? And please let me know why your Virtual World Ludo is the most impactful card of the set deck. Or why Plunder Patrol Whitebeard is the best card of 2020. Yeah, let me know in the comment section down below, and we will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.